has the potential to be one of the most out-of-pocket experiments or theories I have ever had the fortune to describe on this particular channel. Claims of a perfect photographic memory gain in 8 months with a mega dose of lecithin in combination with sexual continence. Now, there is a caveat to this. The author describes that, warning, the person who reads and applies this assumes full responsibility to consult your general practitioner before you try this. Equally, I will double down on that claim. I am absolving myself of all accountability in this particular theory. I'm just here to describe it to you and see what you personally think. So again, one of the most interesting, you definitely can't say it's not interesting, claims and ideas in relation to increasing the cognitive output. So the details of this personal experiment are described thusly. Lecithin is a potent form of sexual energy. The author makes the point, or it's his premise or hypothesis, that lecithin is actually ojas, which is in the Vedic vernacular a form of sexual energy that can greatly enhance the human condition, most particularly cognitive performance. So taking mega doses of lecithin in combination with celibacy can evolve cognition at an accelerated rate, with particular credit to memory. So some of this, I should say, some of this I think is a little bit silly. I have kept what I feel is most valuable, and I will make the point where my feelings are where you should discard certain things. And in fact, some of the things I haven't included. So here's essentially the parameters of the study. Each of the subjects were given a mega dose of lecithin for a full 8 months. And during these 8 months, they were forbidden from ejaculating or having sex, and they lived on a vegan diet. They took on an average of 2,000 calories. Now, we'll skip past my opinion on vegan diets. As you probably know, I'm not particularly fond of them. But most of the food groups in which you can find sources of lecithin are in plants. There are some obvious animal products that house lecithin, which I'll describe in just a moment. But I don't understand the individual's rationality on using a vegan diet. Now, of course, those of you who may be more spiritually inclined will say that there is a additional benefit to, let's say, reducing your karmic debt on animals that are suffering. My opinion in terms of nutrition is a combination of both the scientific and anecdotal one, and I've just found I function better mentally and physically when I'm eating animal products. So I'll just say my piece on that. Now, at the end of the experiment, some of the names here are references to individuals in the study. Ivan was asked to ejaculate for the experiment. After 2 out of 3 of the ejaculations, all the mental power gained was lost. The sperm he ejaculated was purified from viruses in a laboratory environment and then injected into somebody else. Now, I almost stopped reading here because I find this particular idea absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to be covering the third experiment, to which the latter of this particular point is referenced, because, again, I feel it's absolutely ridiculous. So we'll move past that. Now, again, this is this individual's rationality. I kept this in for those who are interested in this idea, but I don't think it holds any true credence. The result of the injection is stated at the end of the article. Semen is the most powerful drug in the world. Isolating and injecting such a substance at higher levels can give somebody ultimate power. And again, it's more subjective here. The brain explodes from dopamine because semen contains dopamine. That is true, which can be absorbed by the brain at 94%. It is incredible. Semen itself is a pure form of dopamine. Then it would be possible to isolate dopamine from it and use it for other purposes. But again, I don't think that rationality has too much weight behind it. We're going to move on to the bulk of the experiment, in which they separate each particular subject into 3 different control groups, pardon me. So we've got Yevgeny, who took 30 grams of lecithin per day for 8 months. George, who took 50 grams for 8 months. Ivan, who took between 140 and 80 grams for 8 months. And again, during this process, they were forbidden from ejaculating, and they sat in Siddhasana for 2 hours every day to prevent them from ejaculating in their sleep. Now, this is a really interesting idea. So if you don't know Siddhasana, it's also known as the Adept's Pose in Western vernacular. The idea with Siddhasana compared to maybe the beginner's pose is that the heel actually comes up underneath your pelvic floor. And in that way, you have a little bit more kinetic sensitivity in respects to where your pelvic floor is, how your muscles are contracting or how those muscles are relaxing. Whenever I do breath work, which is on my Patreon, some of that guided breath work, it is a very valuable asset to be able to have more, let's say, sensitivity in that area as per the heel towards the perineum, which allows you to have better manipulation, control, strength, flexibility, and motility over that particular area. What people often find in relation to wet dreams is they have a poor sensitivity around their pelvic floor. Or equally, if you like something a little bit more active, yoga can be a tremendous indirect way of both strengthening and creating greater flexibility and mobility in your pelvic floor. Some of these poses, if you're familiar with some of the yoga asanas, inadvertently stretch and both strengthen the pelvic floor area. And what's actually interesting, if I'm going to go a step further, and maybe this is a little bit out of pocket, but men who typically experience NEO, so non-ejaculatory orgasms, or greater states of orgasmic consciousness during intercourse, find that they are more easily able to reach these states with a yogic practice because, again, indirectly, they're finding they have better manipulation over the pelvic floor and hence are able to delay, let's say, usual ejaculation and go past that and start to rise up the peaks and valleys of creating greater orgasmic potential in the pelvic floor and dispersing that through the nervous system. Now, back to the experiment, he's first going to delineate the results of the experiments for each individual anecdotally, and then I'm going to tie this up with the relationship it has with lecithin, acetylcholine, and also ojas. So first and foremost, let's talk about Yevgeny, who took the 30 grams of lecithin. And just as a reference point, actually, that's a lot of lecithin. One egg yolk only contains 1.5 grams of lecithin. So, that's a lot of lecithin. And we're not even talking about the 140 to 180 or 60 gram dose. So this is the anecdotal report from Yevgeny. First week, mind clear, appetite decreasing. This individual does love video games and he felt like he was better, playing better, and had more luck in the game. Second week, well rested. Testicles looking a little bit fuller. There is no big difference overall. 1 month in, yes, I gained about 12 points in the memory test. My brain is better than before, and strangely, I see vivid colors now. It was not like this before when I was chaste without using lecithin. I feel my brain is more vivid. Second month, memory test score increased by 4 points. I advanced by 16 points in total. Heart strength has increased. Strangely, my eye color has started to lighten. Now, as a cynic, as a scientist, because again, by profession, I am technically a scientist, it is very difficult to give credence to some of these results without seeing the protocols in which they tested memory, in which they tested heart strength. It's very easy to say, and it's very easy to question. But I'm suspending, let's say, that rational part of myself for lieu of being more open, let's say. 5th month. My total memory score is now 28 points. I still don't have a photographic memory, yes, but I'm fine in every way. Larger increase in the fellows downstairs. My sense of empathy is increasing, and very strange, my hearing has become extraordinarily sharp. My eyes have turned from hazel to a light blue, and my hair is literally shining. Unbelievable. 8th month, my total memory test has increased by 48 points. My sleep time decreased by 3 hours to 5 hours. I still don't have a photographic memory. I can't see auras. Thank you for the experiment. My total score from the IQ test you gave me increased by 21 points from 108 to 129, pardon. Now, I'm just going to take a pause because I want to go through essentially what this experiment is proposing, and back to the initial premise by the author here, is that individuals who are interested in this practice of continence They may find greater benefits in adding more lecithin into their diet because it is believed, or the suggestion, the hypothesis is, that your sexual energy is highly related to the levels of lecithin that you have in your body. And the individual does make a really interesting claim that I'll conclude with towards the latter end of the video, and why I am of the same opinion that this hypothesis actually has some ground, and why I'm sharing it with you today. So George's results from 50 grams of lecithin. Week 1 memory test score increased by only 5 points. He is losing his appetite but feeling a slight vibration or pressure in the eyebrows. Total memory at week 3 increased by 12. Colors are vibrant. Problems with the digestion are gone. One of the things I will say, and I think Ivan mentioned this, is that when you're macro dosing anything, to be honest, beyond what you're usually sensitive with, the digestion system will suffer first. It's very, very abrasive, and you're kind of violating the microbacteria in your gut, and you're kind of forcing them to go through an acute and aggressive stage of evolution to be able to absorb and digest this lecithin through the sealer more quickly, let's say, and at greater quantities. Month 2, my total memory test increased by 29 points. Voice has deepened. It's now 200% deeper than my old voice. And again, you can see my cynical style starting to come in terms of, 200%. How are you measuring that? I'll stop. Month 5, my total memory score has increased by 42 and my sleep time decreased by 2 hours. The sleep time is interesting because this is initially one of the first benefits people who go on this practice of celibacy report. It was the same for me. And it's the idea of fundamentally that you don't need as much sleep to repair. We'll talk about what lecithin fundamentally is and why it would imply that you would need less recovery. Month 8, total memory score increased by 50. All senses have expanded. My vision has improved. Appetite decreased. IQ from 112 to 134. No auras or photographic memory. Now, Ivan, day 1, slight nausea from the lecithin. Day 10, nausea continuing and then stopped. My memory score increased by 17. Vision is good. Feel relaxed. My desire to live has also been increased. Day 30, total memory score increased by 38. Colors are nice. Appetite decreased to almost 38%. Hair color becoming very black. Strange shine in my eyes. My voice has increased. Month 2, total memory score increased by 52. My sleep time decreased at 1 hour and 20. Month 4, total memory score increased by 72. Brain feels very lively, as if I have a different area that has been activated. My verbal skills have improved significantly, but no auras visible yet. 7th month, total memory score increased by 140. Memory very sharp, but there is a problem when I close my eyes. Everything seems so clear. So I confuse reality as if everything I imagine is real. Last night during meditation, I closed my eyes and imagined myself in a game. There was a clear image as if I was playing a game with VR. This is very good. I think I have developed a photographic type memory. Month 8, area between my eyebrows hurts a lot, as if it is burning. I see colors when I sleep, a big explosion of light when I fell asleep once. I had sleep paralysis at that moment. Memory score reached 180. Month 10, when I woke up in the morning, something strange happened. I saw my own aura in the mirror. You ask me every day, are auras visible? I called you right away, but my God, there are vibrant colors around my shoulders and my head. Oh my God, it's close to purple. Okay, so let's dispense with the results and I suppose start to get into the rationality first and foremost. So the question I had at this point was, what is the relationship between high lecithin concentration in the brain and memory power? So lecithin contains choline. This is a very important compound in the brain which plays a critical role in the synthesis of the neurotransmitter acetylcholine, which I prefaced at the start. This is a chemical substance that enables communication between the nerve cells and the brain. So very important for learning, memory, attention, mental functions. Therefore, there could be a relationship between lecithin and power. Just a little brief understanding on how this works. So you've got the connections here between different neurons, and acetylcholine here being the chemical messenger between the two. The idea being, if we have more abundant acetylcholine, then the rate in which we can transfer information becomes greater, hence more quality in memory, learning, perceptions, and all the aforementioned principles. Lecithin is a group of fatty compounds known as phospholipids, so it is fat, and are widely found in nature. It plays an important role in bodily functions, especially in the structure of cell membranes and the functions of nerve cells. Lecithin can be obtained from many different sources: soybeans, sunflower, egg yolk, and some plants, and is often used as a supplement or food additive. Now, with brain and memory in particular, contributing, well, I think we kind of described it pretty well previously, but it's used to promote acetylcholine, this neurotransmitter playing the important role in the aforementioned principles. Now, at this point, I go back to the initial premise the author is describing. What is then the relationship between acetylcholine or lecithin and OJAS? So here's the idea. So Swami Vivekananda, I'm sure you're familiar with this individual, he was very famous for his photographic memory. I'm reaching into the recesses of my mind here, but I believe when Westerners came to visit him, one of his tricks was they could bring a book that I'd never seen before, and he would, go through it once, and they could ask him his recall, and his recall was astronomical. They could say, page 139, read me the whole page, and he could rehearse the whole page. So he had unbelievable memory recall, as much as it is, quoted. So he had explained himself, do you see, simply by the observance of strict brahmacharya or continence, all learning can be mastered in a very short time. One has unfailing memory of what one hears or knows but once. So again, this idea, I experienced this once and then I have it forever. If a person can only be on continent for 12 years, he can have extraordinary memory. But one must be celibate and keep his brahmacharya even in his dreams. So, some of the benefits of, and what fundamentally he's talking about is OJAS here, so I'll just give you a description. It is a concept considered of the purest and highest energy of the body and mind in Vedic or Indian philosophy, Ayurvedic medicine. OJAS is an expression of life force and is considered the primary source of health, resilience, and general well-being. In Ayurveda, OJAS is seen as the highest point of the body's natural powers and balance, and directly affects people's physical, mental, and spiritual health. Now, this is really the crux of the point. 80% of semen is lecithin. Meninges are protective membranes surrounding the brain and spinal cord, and the internal structure of these membranes containing phospholipids. In particular, lecithin, which is found in the structure of meningeal membranes, is an important component in the structure of the cell membranes. So just that idea, first and foremost, that the composition of our sexual energy is 80% lecithin. There is a relationship between continence, semen, and OJAS. And this idea that it's the actual structure, it's the wall in which it keeps the information. And this idea is that we are better insulating ourselves and protecting the integrity of our information, of our memory, of our sexual power within a wall of lecithin. This is fundamentally the idea. You can call it a stretch. I don't think it's too difficult to discern, because I have both anecdotal, scientific, and I would say esoteric understanding of these particular points in which this individual is trying to describe. I'm not going to go through all the benefits here, but it is interesting to see the continuity between, let's say, the benefits of more acetylcholine in the brain comparatively to what the Vedic scripture says an individual will experience when they're high in OJAS, high in lecithin. Physical resistance, OJAS ensuring that physical resistance and the immune system are strong. The crux of the point really is mental and emotional states. So OJAS supporting that mental clarity, inner peace, emotional balance. Spiritual connection, formation of OJAS being a consequence of body digesting and living a healthy lifestyle on some of the foods that the individual was referencing previously, and low OJAS being detrimental to the immune system, person feeling fatigued, tired, apathetic. This also makes me think of a previous video that I did do on my Patreon, where I go over this idea of neurasthenia. There's 2 really long lectures. If you want to have a little read of them or watch of them, they're in the link below on Patreon, where not too dissimilarly, the author describes, and this is a Western scientist, describes that neurasthenia is a consequence of, let's say, sexual licentiousness, taking advantage of your sexual energy, and therefore being more susceptible to nervous system weakness, which is essentially what neurasthenia means, and all the symptoms of fundamentally what I just read, which is low OJAS. Now, again, I'm not going to do the 3rd experiment with injecting. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I can go over it if you're interested, so leave me a comment below, but I think this is really the full value of this individual's experiment, and I would be interested to see if you think this has some weight, some credence, and fundamentally what your comments are. Are these theories, are these facts? You can tell me, gentlemen, down below. Speak soon.